I have realised that everyone wants to think they are a good person, everyone wants to think that they're doing the right thing, but this is not true. We need to look at people's actions and not their words. They are defining themselves a certain way. Does their life back that up? Hello, welcome. In this video we're talking about the one mindset shift that will change your life. This has been helping me a lot lately. I did put real talk in the title because this isn't going to be like a cutesy like, oh, just try some gratitude journaling, noticing the little things. I do talk about that a lot on my channel and that is important, but this is more going to be kind of like difficult truths. I just hope that it will resonate with you if you are going through a hard time for whatever reason. What you need to realise is that no one wants to think they're a bad person. I have been thinking about this a lot recently. The other thing to realise is that it's kind of linked. The overarching thing is no one wants to think they're a bad person. Kind of like the subtitle of that is detach from what people say and watch what they do. Because if we take the idea that no one wants to think they're a bad person, no one is ever going to admit, or it will be very rare that people will admit that they did a big thing wrong. They will paint you as in the wrong, or you as hysterical, you as the troublemaker, before they look at themselves and think what they've done wrong. This video might be a bit meandering or a bit of a rant, but again, I think that hopefully is a more relatable vibe. I do have all of my notes here. It is going somewhere. I'm just really tired of people thinking that they're a good person, thinking that that's enough. It's hard to be a good person. Like, it takes introspection and work. I'm not saying I'm automatically a good person. No, I'm definitely not. I'm in recovery from addiction. I did horrible things when I was in my addiction, but I think maybe I'm lucky in that regard because I have like a framework through which I can acknowledge both that I was a bad person, but that I don't have to be that way anymore. And because I have this label, because I am in recovery, I can have space for both of those things. It can be true that I was a bad person, and maybe parts of me still are, but it can also be true that I can become aware of those things, those thought patterns, and I can change and become a better person. But I also think that sometimes we confuse goodness with kindness or with not rocking the boat. I do want to also talk about respect. It's all bound up together. It's hard to look at your life and look at the things you're doing, particularly if a lot of other people are going the same way and doing the same things. It's hard to look at what you're doing and be like, oh, hang on, am I a good person here? Am I doing the right thing? It requires you to sit down and contemplate, what if I'm wrong? Which we don't like doing because it feels very uncomfortable, and your ego will be fighting against that and being like, well, these are all the reasons you're right, you can't be wrong. So no one wants to think that they're a bad person, even if their actions are bad. In terms of what you can do if you're in this situation, it's to stop looking at what people say and instead focus on what they do. Because people want to be good and they will say that they are good, but that doesn't mean that they are good. They can promise you anything, but look at what they do. Also look at how they make you feel. The goal with all of this, the realization that I'm hoping that you get as we go through this, is that you can trust yourself and you don't have to attach or invest in what people say. That's my hope for this video, that you realize that. No one wants to think they're a bad person. I'm tired of people saying they're good and yet refusing to back it up with action, even the smallest things. And they just don't see it. They would much rather paint me as over the top or overreacting than actually do anything. And I think that says a lot. Particularly, I'm talking about like relationships which in the best of worlds would be safe. So we're talking about relationships with your parents or with your siblings, with your partner, with your best friend. In an ideal world, everyone would have a safe relationship, a safe space in these relationships with these people. And it can be really hard, as I said, with the balance that I was talking about earlier. Like, I was a bad person, there still are parts of me that are bad, but I can also be working towards good. Like, we can hold both of these ideas in our mind at the same time. It can be difficult to be like, I know this person says they care about me, but they're not actually backing it up with action. If someone makes you feel small, they don't love you. If someone belittles you, if someone pathologizes you, they don't love you. They can say whatever they want, but they're not showing that they care. They're saying it, and they don't get to say that they care when they don't. Like, words mean things. They can't just say whatever they want and then not back it up with action. And this is difficult to realise, particularly if it is, as we said, one of these relationships which is supposed to be really safe. You can try and detach, spend less time with this person. Depending on the situation, this will be difficult. But if you don't feel safe with someone, they don't get to say that they love you. They don't get to say that they care. They don't get to be offended if you say, actually, I don't think you care. I mean, they can do whatever they want. Everyone can do what they want. But it's like, I'm not going to say that you're a good person. I'm not going to believe that you're a good person if you are acting like this. You can't just say, I love you or I care about you without backing it up. I don't believe it. And they could be like, well, you don't believe it then. But it's like, well, it's not true. There are things which are absolute truths, like if I drop this, it will fall because gravity exists. There are other things that are true, like emotionally. If you don't make me feel safe, you don't love me. Like, this is a basic thing. And I think, again, it comes back to like being kind versus doing the right thing. Sometimes being kind is harsh, but it's still the right thing to do. I think as well, if we're on this subject, talking about respect, because the relationships that I'm mentioning, particularly I guess with parents or with certain family members, you might be like, oh, well, they're due respect. To me, respect is earned. And again, I have to preface this by saying there are plenty of things I've done which mean that I am not a respectful person. In terms of like, I have not respected other people in the past. Two things can be true at once, remember. But I've never thought that anyone is automatically entitled to my respect. Like, people talk, for example, about, I was going to say the royal family, but I guess any celebrity where they sort of idolise this person or they think so much of this person. And I've never really felt that or understood that, because I don't think that you are a better person just because you were born with a certain name or with a certain amount of money or with a certain position of power. It's difficult, right? Because there are some institutions, like, you might be like, well, you have to respect the president or you have to respect the prime minister. And I'm like, I can respect what they're supposed to represent, but if they themselves are not a good person, I'm not going to respect them. Like, they've not earned any respect. This is the way I view it. I think people are just too comfortable thinking like, I don't have to do anything. I have this title or this role, or I am this kind of person, so I'm automatically due respect. So I can just say whatever I want, but I don't actually have to show up and be a good person. And that has never sat right to me. I'm like, no, you have to prove that you are owed respect. Like, I don't owe you anything. Why should I respect you? Give me a reason. What did you do? Do you help other people? Do you give space for other people? Are you a kind person? Does anyone else feel like this? Do you feel like you see people acting in certain ways and you think, why are you due any respect? Like, I don't get it. That idea of respect is bound up with this idea of being a good person or saying you're a good person, because you think that you can just say it and then it's true. But I really don't view it like that. And it's really jarring to realise that that safe space that you should have, it doesn't exist because there is no respect there, because this person belittles you, because they, as I said earlier, pathologise you or say there's something wrong with you instead of trying to understand or give space for whatever you're thinking. I know that everyone is really stuck in their own beliefs, and it's really hard to get people to see anything outside of that because we don't want to be wrong. But again, if we're thinking about like what people say, people might say to me, oh, you're intelligent, or you read a lot, or you're inquisitive. Like, people don't say these things outright. I'm not trying to put it like that, but I just mean it's like, oh, so you're saying that, then surely my opinion is one to be respected if I read a lot or if I do these things. And yet it's like, oh, no, they don't want to respect what I'm saying or listen to what I'm saying because I contradict the story that they're telling themselves. It's like, we want to say you do this reading, but we don't actually want to listen to what you say because that would interrupt our comfortable story. I said this was going to be real talk. So in terms of the way this is going to shift your mindset, it is really about detachment. And I think it's definitely a process of letting go, of realising, oh, this person or this relationship that was supposed to be and that ideally should be a safe space, it never was, or it's not anymore. And so I have to, for my own sanity, stop spending time with this person or detach emotionally from this relationship because they are unwilling to change, unwilling to show any respect, unwilling to have difficult conversations and hold space for the fact that two things can be true at the same time. The reason I've been thinking about this so much is that I keep having this same sort of conversation, and I'm making this video as like a reminder to myself, as much as hopefully something for you to realise that people are showing you how they really think through their actions, not through their words. So if you are continually having an argument with someone, or there's some contentious issue between you and they say they want it resolved, or they say they care, they say they want it resolved, and yet their actions aren't aligning with that, you need to, this is as much to myself as to you, but stop investing in what they say. It's like that Maya Angelou quote, when someone shows you who they are, believe them. And it's really hard if it is someone who should be safe, who should create that safe space for you, where it should be a really loving, supportive relationship. That's hard to realise, actually no, this person can't be the person that I need them to be. And if you start then to shift your mindset away from relying on them or thinking that they can be this person, like, I'm not saying people can't change, you have the capacity to change, everyone can. Like, I've gone through a major change in my life, but that has to be a change that comes from them. If you're looking for this person to change, like, they can't force you to change, you can't force them to change until they decide, actually this relationship isn't working, let's do something about that. You can only do so much on your side. You need to look after your side of the street, basically. It's not your business what they do on their side of the street. You need to look after yourself. And if they are not changing, you need to step away from them. And you can still be there and be like, I'm here if you decide that you want to change, but this is not working at the moment. And that's when you need to put some boundaries in place, or just be like, I'm gonna spend less time with this person. Again, it depends on the situation. There are different things you can do. If we talked about, like, if it's a family member or if it's a partner or if it's a friend, clearly those are very different situations. You're always going to be related to this person if they're family, so that is going to be more tricky than if it's, say, a friend who you're clashing on a particular issue and you could be like, actually maybe this friendship has run its course. Which is sad. And I'm not saying that just because you disagree on something you need to cut people off. That's not what I'm saying at all. But I'm saying if you realise that there is kind of no respect underpinning your relationship, if this person, instead of trying to see your point of view, their instinct is to belittle you, then there's no respect for you there. They don't actually care. They just want to say that they care, or they think their role is to say that they care, but they're not actually backing it up. So once you realise that, then that is the point that you can back away. But I'm not saying, like, just because you have an argument, like, of course not. Ideally, I would love to be able to resolve these things, but I'm getting to the point now where I'm like, oh, okay, I really do need to just back away and just not engage, because it's exhausting thinking maybe I could convince this person, or maybe we could reach some kind of agreement about this thing. So stop investing in what people say and instead look at what they do. Fundamentally, everyone wants to think they're a good person, but that doesn't mean that they are. This is what I've come to realise recently. There is nothing wrong with you if you feel unseen in a particular relationship that should be safe. Like, you deserve that safe space. I'm not saying you have to be right and everyone has to do what you say and you have to control everyone. No, but there should be space for your opinions without you being belittled or told that you're wrong or made fun of. That is not respectful. We can have different opinions. There are so many, like, I have so many friends that we disagree on different topics, but they're still my friends because underneath we're like, we respect each other. Like, I have friends who don't believe in God and are not spiritual at all. I don't care that they do that. Like, we can still get along. It's where it's this relationship where it should be close. It should be safe. There should be like this unconditional love, basically, and there's not. Then you need to realise that you are not going to get that from that relationship. It's just not gonna happen. This person is probably not gonna change, and that hurts. But if you can shift then your mindset towards looking at what people do instead of what they say, you'll be able to detach a bit more and not get so invested. But again, two things can be true at once. These things aren't always black and white. It's not a question of, I disagree with you, I'm going to cut you off, or this person is really hurtful and they don't care about me, I'm going to block them. Like, sometimes that is definitely warranted depending on the situation, but other times that's just not possible. Maybe you live with this person. Like, you can't just be like, bye. I wish. I hope this video has maybe validated you in some way or been some kind of a safe space for you to think about this stuff. Please let me know your thoughts in the comments. I will leave my video Protect Your Peace on the screen because that is definitely related to what we've talked about in this video, so you can check that out if you want, because there are some more practical tips about how to protect your peace and why it's important that you do that. God bless. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.